But we begin tonight with Donald Trump's need for vengeance, which has been fundamental to the man as his orange hue. He has promised to imprison President Biden. He's savaged the women who have accused him of sexual abuse and impropriety, and he has humiliated his political opponents. There's a reason he's a bully, and that's because Trump is a dogmatic believer in retaliation. How do we know? Because he says it all the time. In fact, it was a point that the prosecution has made multiple times in court, as recently as this morning, when yet another one of Trump's book publishers read excerpts from his book, where Trump talked about how he valued loyalty above everything else, punished disloyal people, and espoused this motto: when somebody screws you, get them back in spades. His obsession with payback was on display today in Judge Juan Merchan's courtroom, where it was clear that Stormy Daniels was about to go through some things, because Ms. Daniels had the temerity to tell the world what she really thought about her sexual encounter with the C-list celebrity, which was the very thing that he and his campaign did not want the world to hear before the 2016 election. Today, he unleashed his lone female lawyer, Susan Necheles, to savage Daniels' credibility by suggesting that she really was just another money-grubbing sexual deviant motivated by fame, greed, and vengeance. First up, Necheles tried to show the jury that Stormy was greedy, asking, "You wanted something to show for your experience, Stormy Daniels?" "Yes, I wanted the truth to be printed with a paper trail of some sort, whether it was an interview, a video, or money, that I was telling the truth to protect me." Susan Necheles: "You wanted money, right?" Stormy Daniels: "I wanted the truth to come out." Necheles kept going, telling Daniels, quote, "The better alternative was for you to make money, right?" Stormy Daniels responded, "The better alternative was to get my story protected with a paper trail so my family didn't get hurt if the story was out." Then Necheles wanted to show the jury that Daniels was motivated by anger. Necheles: "Isn't it correct you told him another motivation to go public was your anger about Trump's newfound opposition to abortion and gay marriage?" Stormy Daniels: "I don't remember saying that. Was he opposed to abortion? I don't know." When that didn't really work, Necheles went for the kill, slut-shaming Stormy Daniels, asking her, quote, "So you have a lot of experience in making phony stories about sex appear to be real, right?" Stormy Daniels: "That's not how I would put it. The sex in the films is very much real, just like what happened to me in that room." This line of questioning went on for hours, and to many witnessing the cross-examination, it felt tedious, confusing, and downright vindictive. However, today, Ms. Daniels seemed composed and seemingly unflappable, even when Necheles implied that even though she got a lot of money for her deal with Cohen, she wanted the world to know she had sex with Trump. Daniels simply responded by saying, "No, nobody would ever want to publicly say that. I wanted to publicly defend myself after people attacked me after Michael Cohen told about the story." In the face of the Trump defense assault, she kept returning to her truth, though after hours on the stand, Daniels began to crack. Her voice was shaking during an exchange with Necheles, who was asking her about nasty tweets she received and why she responded to them. Necheles was trying to imply that Daniels wasn't that fearful for her life or the situation, since she was responding to the barrage of hate she was receiving after her story went public. On the verge of tears, Daniels pushed back, telling Necheles, "When somebody attacks me, I'm going to defend myself," which is ironic given that that's Trump's motto. Necheles spent the majority of her cross-examination fixated on undermining the veracity of the supposed sexual encounter, which is not the actual alleged crime. Necheles's attacks were even more jarring when juxtaposed to her treatment of the prosecution's last witness of the day, Madeleine Westerhout, Trump's personal secretary. Westerhout was fired when she told a bunch of reporters that she was closer to Trump than his daughters, and that Trump didn't like being photographed with Tiffany Trump because he thought she was overweight. The reason why Necheles treated Westerhout with kid gloves was because she, as Trump's gatekeeper, witnessed Donald Trump's hands-on approach to his personal business while in the White House, including payments to Michael Cohen, which happens to be central to the alleged crime. Joining me now is Suzanne Craig, investigative reporter for the New York Times and an MSNBC contributor. Paul Butler, former federal prosecutor, Georgetown law professor, and MSNBC legal analyst. And Claire McCaskill, former senator, MSNBC political analyst, and co-host of MSNBC's How to Win 2024 podcast. I will start with you, Suzanne, because it did feel like today was Susan Necklis's, kind of nadir of the cruelty that Donald Trump obviously demanded that she throw at this witness. She's not on trial, but you would think. What did it look like in the courtroom? Was it uncomfortable for the jurors?
I don't know how the jurors felt. I know I felt very uncomfortable. I mean, it kept building and building, and there's a point where you were both, okay, let's move along, and where are you going with this? But it was hard to listen to. I mean, it felt like something that might have happened 30 years ago. I mean, not today. I mean, they were shaming a sex worker and made it feel like that over and over again. I mean, it was just question after question about what she did and calling her a sex worker, just things like that. And I was surprised it went on as long as it did. But the other thing that I was impressed with today was Stormy Daniels herself, because she rose to the moment today. She gave as good as she got. Susan Necklis was coming at her hard for hours. And I thought one of the most effective things she did, first of all, she was just cool. She wasn't elevating her voice on responses. She was firm. But she would be asked questions by Susan Necklis. I mean, one of them was Susan Necklis said to her, have you said that you want to be instrumental in putting Donald Trump in jail? Mm-hmm. And Stormy Daniels was like, I didn't say that. Where did I say that? And she would force Susan Necklis to go find the quote that multiple times Susan Necklis couldn't find, because Stormy Daniels actually didn't say that. She may have said something similar to that, but not even close. And This went back and forth, the badgering. I understand that they need to have a narrative, and they're trying to make her out as an opportunist who profited from this, and that Donald Trump is a victim. But I was just surprised at the lengths they went today to shame her on the stand. It was kind of not even just the sex stuff, it was the nuts and sluts. They were, they were basically calling her crazy at one point for other things that had happened in her life.
Yeah. And just the one that you were just talking about, Suzanne, I'm going to put that right back up. Necklis. Well, isn't it a fact that you keep posting on social media how you're going to be instrumental in putting President Trump in jail? Show me where I said, this is where she was like a better lawyer than Necklis. I'll be instrumental in putting President Trump in jail. Necklis, all right. If we could show the witness J43, please, just for the witness and parties. Do you recognize that as your post? Stormy Daniels, yes. Necklis and Daniels, and I don't see the word instrumental or jail. And we actually have the tweet. We can just put that up and show. Yeah. Indeed, she said somebody tweeted at her calling her a human toilet, and she responded exactly, making me the best person to flush the orange turd down. And
you know why she said that? She was sort of having a pun with the toilet. Yeah. She said, if somebody's going to come after me with that, then I'm going to come back with this. And it meant nothing of what Susan Necklis had insinuated. But if another person on that stand may have just agreed just to move it along or was nervous, but Stormy Daniels was holding her ground for the entire time she was up against Susan Necklis today.
Let me play another one, or read another one. This is Susan Necklis, and I want to go to you on this, Claire, because you are a former prosecutor as well as being a former United States senator. This is Susan Necklis, claiming that Stormy Daniels was selling herself, a very choice way of putting it. And she says this, Necklis, and you were selling yourself to people who hated President Trump as somebody who could get President Trump indicted, right? Stormy Daniels, I was not selling myself to anyone. I was performing at clubs, and whoever wanted to pay admission. It was not geared toward people only who hated somebody. These were strip club patrons who had seen me dance. They were fans of my work. A lot of them had known me from 10 years before. It is difficult to cross-examine a woman, I can imagine, Claire. And normally a woman is chosen to do it. That doesn't seem atypical to me. I'm not a lawyer, but that seems logical. But it seems to me that Ms. Necklis's job today was to be as nasty as possible. How does that advance the defense?
It doesn't. But she had a problem. This defense lawyer had a problem. Excuse me. The problem is Donald Trump is requiring their lawyers to present a defense that the sex never happened, that this was all made up, that none of this is true. Now, imagine how different this would be if if Necklace was trying to establish that this witness knew nothing about whether Donald Trump had anything to do with actually writing the checks for the hush payments, if this witness knew anything about whether or not if they were recorded properly on his books or not. That's what this case is about. But they are handcuffed because Trump is requiring them to present a defense that he's the perfect family man, that the sex never happened. And that's why it's so ludicrous they asked for a mistrial. Of course, the prosecution is going to establish that the sex happened because Donald Trump, through his lawyers in opening statement, said it didn't. And that becomes a crucial part of the case. This lawyer had a very hard job. She had to make this woman look like a greedy, sleazy liar. And there's corroboration that the sex happened. The details that she's given have been wholly consistent. Little things vary, but as Paul will tell you, that's very common when a witness tells a story over and over and over again. The essence of her story has remained identical from the beginning, and the jury sensed that. I think this defense lawyer was required to go further than she knew she should by none other than Donald Trump, and I think she did damage to Donald Trump today.